Hey, Linnea.
Hey, Jason.
We're here at Tiger.
We sure are.
Do you remember why?
It could be a tough day.
So it's time to get to the root of this problem. So stupid.
We have a problem. Wet roots in Washington are a problem, and they're especially difficult when they are frozen. So here we are today. I feel like I lose a lot of time in races on roots because I've just pitched a front tire so many times, and
Like had it shoot off course? Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't really know. I think I tiptoe around roots a lot, and I slow down and I brake. And the other thing that I've found is if there's one root, I can just pop the front wheel over it. But once there are multiple roots, that's where I really struggle, because if I am light over the first one, I tend to go into the next one really heavy, and then it doesn't go so well.
Okay, good. That's all stuff we can work on today for sure. We are in absolute best conditions if you want to be a root rock star.
I do.
So here we are. It is, I think, about 32 degrees. There's snow on the ground, and we're gonna go run some roots.
Whose idea was this?
Hers. It was not. I think it was Simon's. He's down in Mexico. Now that I think about it,
you should go run
Simon's
some
down in
roots.
Mexico, and he's like, you guys should go do some roots at Predator this weekend.
Oh, it's frozen?
It looks like I saw the weather and it looks sunny.
Yeah,
I'm like, did you not see the temp? 27 degrees last night?
Yeah, so
Simon's in his hot, the heat, the sun.
Yeah, I talked to him this morning on the way here, and I didn't really want to hear it.
I think he said I could call him too, and I'm like, that's not fair. Oh. There's a stick under the snow. I don't say shit. My glasses came down. Speaking of roots and root type objects.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so I've been to too many races where roots have been in my head, and actually slipping on roots and crashing can kind of ruin that stage. So I'm really looking forward to getting some practice on this today.
Yeah, we'll definitely be able to help with that. I think, having that better understanding of how to manage them and, when to push and when to ride them smart and finding lines for them is going to help you a lot. As we were talking about doing roots, you kept talking about this root ball. So I decided I want to see this root ball.
And here she is.
Oh, she's awesome.
Yeah, it's really intimidating when you're coming down the trail because these are so off camber and they're every direction. And then we have a safe line that's really slow.
Yeah, you can ride right around them, but then you got to go back up the trail and deal with that next little section of roots as well. So this is like, for riding this trail fast, this is a huge time saver. You want to go straight over it, but then you see these off camber roots.
Every direction.
Especially when they're wet, and I bet you're like, yeah, I'll go around.
Yeah, and it's actually a lengthy section too. It's not just like a couple of roots here and you just pop over it. You have to have a plan for the end of this section.
Yeah, I'd say
too.
it's 6.5 foot that you got to get in distance.
So can you help me ride this well?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So when I look at this, I don't actually know what line to take because I think it seems like you can kind of go off here or there or here. And then the other thing is if it was just this route or even this route and a little bit more, I'd feel a lot more comfortable on it. But the fact that you have this huge, this is big and you don't want to punch your front tire in there.
No, you don't.
So I think that's what intimidates me about this section is having whatever I do up here has to be enough to get me past this massive route. And then there's even this guy here. So like this is a huge stretch.
So what's cool is we have a ton of run in here, so you can set yourself up however you want to hit these roots. So what we're going to want to really concentrate is we want to be light over the roots and open and letting that bike move. So our focus is going to be where can we get good traction before we get to the roots to compress and create lightness over the roots, and then where can we compress again to get grip for braking if we need to control our speed, as well as if we need to change direction. We want to try to go over these roots as straight as possible. And it's like a 6-foot section, so that's pretty realistic. So what we really want to look at is our line coming in and where we want that line to be coming out.
Okay. So what line would you recommend for me here?
Well, I think here what we want to look at first is where do we want to come out of these roots at? So, our options are if we can get up here and then follow through and we've got another little root drop here, or this rock. And if you can see, it's a big open area, so you've got a ton of room to brake again down there. You know, it's a very controlled area. So what we want to focus on is where do we want to be here off of these roots and where do we want to go? And I see, you know, the easiest, straightest line is if we can be right in here and just roll right off this rock into that dirt that gives us a ton of room for braking. Potentially even get over here and go off the wood if you feel like you can compress here and be light again on this wood, and then you can brake down there.
I've never thought about that line before.
Yeah, I look at this and I see, you know, I don't need to be over on this. This is like really good dirt braking. It can set me up good down there. So what I see as a great line is getting across here just off of this root, so not up into this root, and you've got a spot right here that you can gain control and compression, and then you're going to be able to be light again right over this into that dirt. So it's going to be a double compression with softness over. You don't have to jump these. You just need not to have a bunch of weight on your front wheel, because when you hit against an off-camber root like this, if you have weight or braking or you're pressing into this, look at my hand, literally pushes over. Whereas if we can be light when we hit these, our weight off of the wheel and our weight off of the brakes and no pressure, that tire's gonna be able to carry forward momentum and like come over that root and skip over that root rather than bearing itself into it. So really all we need to be here is lightweight over these roots, regain our compression here, and then we can be light again and just float over those. So what I see this as is almost looking at it like two little rollers. And when you think you go over the top of a roller, you can be really light and then compress in the dip. So imagine we're going to focus on finding a good line here, getting control, compressing before the roots so that when we hit the roots, we're just light and we let that bike move. And then our pressure is refocused on this little compression. And then we're going to get light again and let the bike just float over these roots. So yeah, what do you think? Let's go take a look at the entrance and see how we get to here.
Go, Jason.
What'd you think of that, Linnea?
It looked really good. I mean, you had a lot of speed, so.
So why don't I do it a little slower?
Okay. Cool. That looked awesome.
So something I want to bring up. So you'll notice there, Linnea, there was a really prominent separation between my active pumping and my passive pumping. So when I was on the roots both time, I'm passive pumping, whereas I'm creating that active pump prior and in between them.
Okay.
So you'll notice I was very passive when I'm on the roots in both these sections, and so you could use the same idea even up higher by going up the roots up here, down, and over these set of roots if you want to follow that kind of the original line. And you'll have, it's the same way of doing it whether it be up high or down here lower.
Yeah, I like your inside line if I can get there.
Okay, I think you can do it.
Okay, well, I think I'm ready to try this.
Let's give it a go.
All right. Woo!
Why am I here? Literally, why am I here? Like, I mean, it was just perfect.
Like, it all happened so quickly.
That's the point, though. You're on and off them that quick. So as long as you're doing what you're supposed to do, you're in control. And as soon as you get back to the ground, but now that you do it a second time, you're going to notice that you're more aware of this, and you're going to actually be more passive, and the tires are going to be back on the ground sooner.
Gotcha.
You got a little bit of air off of it because I think you were thinking about compressing here, and so you kind of rebounded.
Yeah.
Whereas now you're going to go through the roots, you're going to be passive a second time and be right on the ground and braking.
Okay, yeah, I got some air on that one.
Yeah, and I think it was just because you were really focused on, okay, I got to get weight back down after the first set of roots, and it kind of launched you a little. But I mean, you controlled it. You were awesome all the way to the bottom. So, I mean, my one comment is being a little more passive with your legs on this second run. So I think all of this happening, and it's your first time doing it, and it's back to back. You got a little stiff with the legs, and that kind of popped that rear end up. And I think this time you'll understand what it is, and you'll be a little more passive, and you'll probably roll this second one much smoother and be able to be on the brakes even better. Oh, that was awesome! Oh man, so good.
So that passive pumping bit makes a huge difference because on that last run, I was able to get my tires on the ground sooner and brake sooner and be in more control for this because this is a gnarly section that takes a lot of people out. It's steep, it's got big stair steps, it's janky, there's a turn. So that felt so good because I got my tires on the ground sooner.
Yeah, and you have this huge, like, 6 bike length area to control your speed going into that section now. Oh, yes. Woo!
Okay, that felt amazing.
Oh, yes. So we've kind of went through the roots, and I think some big key takeaways from that today that hopefully you felt you caught on to or got an understanding of is, I think the simplest thing is just when we have the ability, obviously we want to try to square up to these roots. That on trails like this obviously isn't always possible. So then how do we ride these roots when they're wanting to send us off the trail or put us in a direction? And I think the big takeaways from today is, knowing where you have traction and using that to your advantage. So, when you have good area, compress, get your traction, and then being light over those roots so that tire can roll freely and lightly and not hang up on those roots so that it wants to carry forward rather than going in different directions. Is there something you kind of felt like you really were surprised and took away from it, or, beyond this amazing root ball that you kept talking about and then just absolutely smashed it?
The famous root ball. No, the biggest takeaway for me was also all the things you mentioned, but using the terrain and the featuring element with these roots, and especially a lot of times these roots come after an uphill, and so using that uphill as an advantage for getting over the
way to get over them.
Yeah, I haven't thought about that too much, so that's a helpful tip.
Yeah, and I think that it's a really interesting the amount of mix of you'll use active and passive pumping on roots to really control. So you're using that active pumping to get traction, change direction, create grip when you need it, and then you're using this passive pumping and this softness to your riding when you're on the roots.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Oh, you're
Learned
welcome.
A lot today.
This was awesome. What a great day. I mean, what a spoil we got. We came up here this morning just thinking it was going to be miserable, filming in the cold, and we were going to call and harass Simon because he's in Mexico right now basking in the sun.
Yeah, we didn't even call him. It's too good.
And then the dirt was amazing. I mean, the roots are dry, so we didn't even get we thought we were going to learn on the hardest possible way to ride roots, and the roots ended up being dry and pretty manageable, and I mean, gosh, what else can you really ask for?
It's midwinter. Are you on Facebook, or are you calling him?
We've requested a video. He's not accepting.
Are we doing
it.
a video?
There he is.
Chat?
Oh,
it's so horrible here. All the roots
my!
are icy.
Seriously, shirt off. We're sitting here and we just finished up filming roots, and it went great. And we got here this morning and it was like 28 degrees, and we thought it was going to be miserable. And then we headed over to Ebad, and the dirt is epic. The roots are dry. It's crazy. I mean, look at this. Look at these roots.
Oh my God.
Yeah, look at the trail.
This is like the most perfect winter day.
Yeah, not what we expected at all.